universe to Tom and Mark Off the Rails.
Coming to you live from Highland Tower Studios here in Cedarburg. We are still here with Amelia Scheit.
I guess we can technically call this our Christmas episode.
Hey.
So, let's do some fun Christmas facts for everybody.
Non-religious Christmas
We got
facts?
one sound effect I wanted. That's all we got.
I thought we had another Hulk Hogan-esque
Oh, wait,
soundbite.
we do have another.
Oh.
All right, let's do a Christmas episode.
It would be better if you said ho ho ho.
NWOOO. What do you guys know about Christmas?
I know it's frickin' great.
I know kind of a lot.
Well, see, here's the thing: is my first thought is, let's talk about it as a religious holiday, but I'm out of dollars.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. I
We
got
can talk
some...
about why it's in the wrong season.
Yes, it is in the wrong season.
Yes,
Everyone
technically.
agrees that
If you want
no one
to.
special was born in December.
No.
Okay.
Just normies.
Well, let's talk about Santa Claus here.
Oh, okay.
Santa Claus comes from St. Nicholas, a Christian bishop living in what is now Turkey. In the 4th century AD, St. Nicholas had inherited a great deal of wealth and was known for giving it away to help the needy. When sainted, he became the protector of children.
But he died, right?
After his death...
4th century.
Yeah, but we can bring him back. We just need to create a St. Nicholas host.
A ho-ho host?
A ho-ho host. Yes. After his death, the legend of St. Nicholas spread. St. Nick's name became Sint Nicolaas in Dutch, or Sinterklaas for short, which was only a hop, skip, and a jump to Santa Claus. Santa Claus delivering presents comes from Holland's celebration of St. Nicholas feast day on December 6th. Children would leave shoes out the night before. That must be great to fucking put on in the morning. And in the morning would find little gifts that St. Nicholas would leave them. So
He had a helper, too. There's a German tradition, and his name is like Stuffen Hoffenhufferter. And his little helper, I mean, like, he's supposed to be this, like, little... I think that's where the elf thing comes from.
100 years ago, Santa
Like
Claus
this
was
little...
elf-sized.
But he has a little Stuffenhoffenher helper who
In
is
Spain,
the one
he
who
has-
brings sticks and coal for the bad ones.
in Spain, his name is Black Peter.
Oh, yeah.
Black-faced dude that comes and, like, whips a kid, puts him in a sack, and hauls him across the Mediterranean. All right.
There's some scary stuff to St. Nick, too.
Here is where stockings came from. Stockings come from this story. A poor man with 3 daughters couldn't afford the dowry to
Dowry?
have... Dowry.
How'd you put an extra R in there?
You guys think it's so easy. Just read my name. You know what? I hope Stefan Hoffenhofer comes tonight.
It gives you sticks.
Fucks with your dowry. Yeah. One night, St. Nicholas dropped a bag of gold down the man's chimney so that his oldest daughter would be able to get married, and the bag fell into a stocking that was drying by the fire. Okay.
And that explains why my wife gave me a chocolate orange.
I think it's supposed to be a real orange.
Oh, I'm sorry. St. Nick gave me a...
Yep. One of the reasons we leave milk and cookies for Santa is because the Dutch kids would leave food and drink for St. Nicholas on his feast day. And we leave carrots for Santa Claus's reindeer because in Norse mythology, people left hay and treats for Odin's 8-legged horse, Sleipnir. Schlappenhoppenhorn. In hopes the god would stop by their home during his Yule hunting adventures. Dutch children adopted this tradition too and would treat, and it says wood treats for St. Nick's horse. Okay, we got more. Don't worry, they get better.
I'm on pins and needles over here.
I'm just waiting for the next name you can't pronounce.
Okay. Though Santa Claus has worn blue and white and green in the past, his traditional red suit came from the 1930s ad by Coca-Cola.
Oh, of course.
That is where the modern image of Santa was
Yes.
like cemented.
Coke.
We need a giant corporation to form everybody's.
Yep.
You know,
like we all think of that marketing campaign, but like, who gives Coke for Christmas? I never got a bottle of Coke for Christmas.
Hey,
your mother happens to be a Coke collector, so that
yes.
I can't ask you if you ever got a Coke bottle or gave a Coke bottle.
Oh, you better believe I never got one, but I gave one.
I think it kind of backfired, though, because you're right. Nobody gives Coke, but they sure gave everybody the Santa Claus image.
Yeah.
Yep.
Coke
like,
should be
how many
pissed
bottles of Coke
off.
did it sell?
I don't know.
Hmm.
The image of Santa Claus flying in a sleigh started in 1819 and was dreamt up by the same author who created The Headless Horseman and Washington Irving.
Wait, and Washington Irving? Wasn't Washington Irving the one who actually created the Headless Horseman?
Yeah, maybe.
There we go.
Dude, cut
It's
and
okay.
paste.
It's
You know what,
okay.
Amelia? You're fired.
You told me I could talk when I
Now
wanted
it's,
to.
There you
now
go.
it's going to be Mark and Amelia.
All right.
Welcome to Off the Rails with Amelia and Mark.
I'm fucking out of here. I don't know why. All right.
I'll let you finish your story. Sorry.
Rudolph was actually conceived by a department store, Montgomery Ward, as a marketing gimmick to get kids to buy holiday coloring books. Rudolph almost didn't have a red nose either. At the time, a red nose was a sign of chronic alcoholism, and Montgomery Ward thought he would look like a drunkard.
I think Santa was drunk trying to put Rudolph in front of the sleigh.
Yeah, well, when Santa passed out, sleeping on some kid's shoes, Rudolph came by and drank the rest of his drink. Rudolph was almost named Rollo or Reginald. Reginald the red-nosed reindeer doesn't have the same ring to it.
Reginald didn't have an R rolled R there.
The poem that introduced us to the other 8 reindeer, A Visit from St. Nicholas, was actually name-dropped Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blixen, which, like Donner and Blixen, come from the German words for thunder and lightning.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Over the years, reindeer have been name-checked on Santa's sleigh team, such as Flossie, Glossy, Racer, Pacer, Scratcher, Feckless, Ready, Steady, Fireball. No relation to the whiskey. All right.
That sounds like a bunch of diseases. Scratchy, Frenchie, Flossie.
Oh, man, I had sex with this chick. She gave me Glossy, Racer, and Pacer. And now these pills didn't work. I'm stuck with Scratcher and Feckless.
Okay.
And now I'm pissing Fireball.
Oh, dear.
All right. The first batch of eggnog in America was crafted at Captain John Smith's Jamestown settlement in 1607. I thought that was Jamestown.
Oh,
Jamestown.
Pocahontas guy. Except
And
not really.
the
Just
name
John Smith.
eggnog comes from the word garage, which refers to any drink made with rum. Okay, we can skip. Santa Claus is Coming to Town actually has a truly depressing backstory. Songwriter James Haven Gillespie was broke, jobless, and his brother had just died when he was asked to write a Christmas song. He was originally too overcome with grief, but eventually found inspiration in his brother's death and the Christmas memories they had together. We had this on our Thanksgiving episode. Jingle Bells was originally a Thanksgiving song. Can any of you guess what the all-time #1 selling Christmas song is?
White Christmas.
Nope.
I was going to say that Mariah Carey song.
Mariah Carey,
man.
All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Since now they made that animated
Correct.
movie too, like called All I Want for Christmas Is You. It's all on
What is
Amazon
that?
Prime.
I hate that song. White Christmas. I hate that song too, but it's a superior song.
It was written by a guy named Irving, so way better than Mariah Carey.
What is the highest grossing Christmas movie of all time?
Ooh.
The Christmas Story.
White Christmas? You want to go with that again?
No, I said the
No.
Christmas,
Christmas
Story.
Story? Okay. Wrong.
Oh.
I am. Okay, are we talking like
Of all time.
highest? Like it's to like it still makes pennies. to
Dude,
this
it
day?
is highlighted and underlined in blue that says the highest grossing Christmas movie of all time.
Some form of the Christmas Carol.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Jim Carrey version.
Really? The
That's probably-
Jim Carrey
Well, that's
version.
because the movies cost so much nowadays. It's probably
Boom.
not adjusted for inflation.
The Jim
You can
Carrey
see White
version.
Christmas for a nickel.
I watch that movie every year with my mom. That's my holiday tradition.
The Grinch Stole Christmas?
No,
How the
the
Grinch?
White Christmas.
Oh, right. Well, that's what we just watched it last night. Like it's our thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
But How the Grinch Stole Christmas for real? That's a Jim Carrey version
Jim Carrey version.
Gotta be an
with all the
inflation
weird
thing.
hair and all the weird things in it and the
That was a
Yeah.
weird movie.
huh.
Sorry, guys.
Well, Faith Hill did a song from it, so you know all those country singers. All those
thought
Faith
you-
Hilling?
Thought you liked country music.
No, I'm married to someone who likes country music.
Oh, you
Oh,
have
yeah.
to like country music.
All right. Ever wonder about Xmas? I got the answer right here.
Why it's Xmas?
Yeah. Christmas is a contradiction of Christ's Mass, which is derived from the Old English Christus Masse. First recorded in 1038, the letter X in Greek is the first letter of Christ, and Xmas has been used as an abbreviation for Christmas since the mid-1500s.
Wow.
I
There you
figured
go.
it was from the that chi rho, which is that PX thing you always see.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's from back from Roman times, but it's the letters.
Oh yeah.
It's actually an R and an X, but it looks like a P and an
Looks
X.
like a P and an X. Yeah.
Okay.
I was telling Tom, people always get offended because,
You call it Xmas, but it is...
But it's actually
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
People go, don't say Xmas. You could be like, actually,
Actually...
it
I learned,
derives from Christus Masse.
yeah.
This whole,
So
this whole segment is just a trap to get us to talk about religion, Tom.
Yep.
You just want more dollars in the taboo jar.
I just want more dollars to smell like pickles.
and mint.
Yep.
Minty pickles.
Norwegian scientists have hypothesized that Rudolph's red nose is probably the result of a parasitic infection in his respiratory system.
Oh, lovely.
All right. It makes your nose glow. Okay.
Okay.
The Germans made the first artificial Christmas trees
Yes.
out of dyed goose feathers. Each year, more than 3 billion Christmas cards are sent in the U.S. alone. All the gifts in the 12 days of Christmas would equal 364 gifts.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, this one's kind of cool. Most of Santa's reindeer have male-sounding names, such as Blitzen, Comet, and Cupid. However, male reindeers shed their antlers around Christmas. So the reindeer pulling the sleighs are likely not male, but female or castrated.
Don't put your gender roles onto my reindeer.
Sorry, I didn't do it. All right. Let's take a little poll here. How long do you think Christmas trees grow before they are sold?
Ooh.
How long do you think?
How old is the tree when it's cut down?
Yes. Molly, give a year.
10 years.
Okay.
2 years.
4.
15 years before they are sold.
Wow.
I win.
I way undercut that.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to start a Christmas tree farm, you wouldn't turn a profit for 15 years.
That would be your first year.
Wow. And that would be, what if they were all gone and then you'd have to start again? That'd be another 15 years.
Son
It
of a
seems like not the best business to get involved
Yeah.
in. Unless you inherit,
Christmas tree farm. Yeah.
then go for it. Or just, go into the woods and say, I claim this as
And
my Christmas tree
deforest
farm.
In Poland, spiders or a spider web are common Christmas tree decorations because, according to legend, a spider wove a blanket for baby Jesus. In fact, the Polish people consider spiders to be symbols of goodness and prosperity at Christmas. You people are weird, Mark.
I am Polish, and spiders terrify me.
Yes. You have some pretty nasty ones that hang out at your house, too.
Yes.
I don't like
Dude, I killed a big-ass spider this morning. You saw that, Molly?
You made me come up and see it. Come up here.
It was
quick.
Yeah.
Come
the
up here.
size of a $50.
Look at
I
this
hit it
spider.
with my hand
Yeah.
and the paper towel, and all I got was legs, and the body just
Oh.
fell and rolled down the
Is
stairs.
this indoors?
Yeah.
Oh.
I couldn't find the body. It just rolled away, probably
It's still there.
I know.
It's gonna grow its legs back.
Yeah, on Christmas morning, it's a Polish spider. It just grows all its legs back.
It'll give you a blanket. Here you go.
Dude, if you ever decorate with spider webs, I'm out of here.
That's
You got to
weird.
do that. You want?
I've never heard the blanket for baby Jesus thing though by spiders. That sounds like a Tim Burton movie if
Yeah,
I've
that's
ever
like-
heard one.
Dracula was born on a blanket of spider webs. All right. And we got one more. This one, for all the kids listening, I hate to let you down, but here we go. According to the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, there are 2,106 million children under the age of 18 in the world. If there are, on average, 2.5 children per household, Santa would have to make 842 million stops on Christmas Eve, traveling 221 million miles. To reach all 842 million stops, Santa would need to travel between houses in 2 10,000ths of a second, which means he would need to accelerate 12.9 million
Jesus.
miles. Wait, 12.9 million miles per second on each stop. The force of acceleration would reduce Santa to a chunky salsa.
Yeah, but like the two most populous nations in the world, China and India, like have no Christians.
Yeah, but
You can
Santa's
take
Santa's
those
not he doesn't, but he will visit if you're just naughty or nice. Remember, there's just a list.
Oh, and then there's assholes.
Right?
Yeah.
So what about how many are naughty kids that don't get Santa? So
Yeah, but he still drops off the coal.
oh well.
Doesn't
no,
he?
that's his that's rough.
That's rough and stinking sniker snap.
Yeah, he's the real miracle worker.
I swear there's like
there's
a
like
little
10
German
good
like
kids.
helper. You should look it up. The little
we'll do
the
this.
little German helper for Saint Nick's.
Dude, you know what's gonna come up on the internet if I look up for little German helper?
Clyde.
Klein, yeah, that's my last
For
name.
Saint Nick.
Oh, it's a picture of
Make
me.
sure you put for Saint Nick on there. It's like the German teacher was talking about it at school, and I can't remember what she said, but it was like
Probably like Stuffaluffagus.
Ruffen stop.
Snuffleupagus?
Some German.
Connect Riprecht? Does that sound right?
Yeah, and there's another one that was like something with a st.
Maybe Rupert?
Yeah, Rupert, but there was like a longer name. She said like 3 of them, and
Connect Riprecht is Saint Nick's.
Connect
most
Repact.
familiar
Okay, that might have been what she
Connect
was doing.
Riprecht?
Connect Repact.
Okay.
Her stuff and lover. She said it with like a German accent and
the
everything.
German
It was like, what?
Is the German teacher the Swedish chef?
I might be not great at a German accent. Okay, so maybe make it sound a little more.
All right, everybody, enjoy your holidays. That is our Christmas facts for the year. Stay tuned next year
For more.
for more.
For the real name of
more.
Saint Nick's helper.
Yep. All right, it's time to do our first ever Movies with Mark. We are now doing a movie review section. And Mark, why don't you tell them what movie we watched this week?
We watched A Christmas Horror Story, the 2015 classic. Not rated. Hour and 39 minutes. It's available on Netflix. That's why we picked it. We wanted to review things that basically anyone can just sort of easily access. Didn't want you guys to have to jump through hoops to get foreign films or have to buy anything.
Correct. We had Molly review it and Susan review it also.
Yes.
So
Our 2 better halves reviewed it. So
that was good. We all took notes and we didn't talk about it. So I believe now it's time we should get on with this thing.
It's not rated.
I just looked it up.
Usually when a
correct.
movie isn't rated, it's because there's tons and tons of nudity and they
And
don't
there
want the...
was not.
No, like there was 0... Usually with these like off the, like the beaten path horror movies, they have tons and tons of like gratuitous nudity, like for no reason. Oh, set of boobs.
I was hoping so hard there would be
Boobs.
too. I was just let down.
There were 0 boobs and there was opportunity for it.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, other than one scene, I would pretty much feel comfortable watching this with a 10-year-old.
Yeah, there was one scene that threw me.
2 scenes. 2 scenes.
not even the other scene wasn't even that bad. It's the one scene. Can you guess which it is?
Yeah, where she is possessed and straddles the dude.
That's not even that bad.
No, we're thinking of the scene when
The hand.
the cop's wife.
Oh, when the little boy was.
Yeah. Why don't we do
We
a
gotta
quick
preface it,
run?
'cause
Yeah,
we were
let's-
like,
okay.
What the hell does that mean?
All right,
Yeah.
let me give a little rundown of the movie. There's basically, it's a horror anthology. So we have basically 5 different story threads that all kind of tie together in some way at the end.
I thought it was only like 3 technically.
There were 3 basic stories, but then we also had Shatner in the
yeah.
in the radio
Yeah.
booth
And
tying it all together.
Santa Claus.
And then on top of that, we had a Santa Claus storyline, which was basically turned into Santa Claus versus zombie elves.
Yep.
Then we had Shatner on the radio. Then we had 3 different, more
William
or less.
Shatner. Let's clarify for the
Big-
people who are not familiar.
I can't see you, Will. Is that Bill Shatner over there?
And then we basically had 3 self-contained stories that barely kind of wove together. We had
Barely.
the ghost hunters, who basically were going into the basement of an old school or an asylum.
It was a school.
It
But
was
it
a
had
school,
a-
but it felt like a college.
It was built on top of, like, they'd had an old...
It was like Mount Mary or Concordia. It
Yeah.
was on an old convent.
Yes. Where they sent the girls that got knocked up.
So they're ghost hunting because there was some sort of murder, like a psycho or someone broke in there and murdered a bunch of people. And they watched some historical footage or a recording of the cops going in there when this all happened. And that's where we first meet the other character, another group, the cop's family, basically is what I'm going to call it. We have a story about him that, other than the fact that he's in that little video they watched on their tablet, there's no other relation.
Yeah, that's how he's tied in.
The third story is the I'm going to call them the dysfunctional family.
The friend that had the keys to the school.
The 3 ghost hunters are like teenagers.
Yeah.
And a fellow teenager gives them a key, and then she runs off with her family.
It
and
was
that's
one
the
of the guy's
dysfunctional family.
girlfriends.
Yeah.
Yes. She gets groped, and they have that lovely little PDA scene where you automatically go, oh, he's dead.
Well, it's all very PG-13.
Yeah, but still not that bad. So if you're going to watch it with like a teenager or a younger person, it's really not that bad.
So basically, back to the dysfunctional family.
Fucked up family.
They get in a car, and they basically ride off to meet their rich old aunt and hit her up for money.
Tanti, which we Googled.
Tanti.
Tanti. We're like, what origin is that? It's German.
I was going to say, it's always
Gotta
German.
be
Yeah.
cool.
Well, it's actually Jewish. Like, mostly
Yiddish and German are
Yeah.
very closely related.
they use it in the Yiddish language. So that's why I thought it was very interesting that it's like, wait a minute, is this family Jewish? No, it's still Christmas.
Okay. But they run into Krampus, so you know it's got to be German.
Spoiler alert.
Way to jump the gun, Tom.
So yeah, what I liked about the movie is the 2 of the stories had a real strong kind of like Celtic or Germanic mythology with the Krampus,
Mhm.
with the dysfunctional family,
Yes.
and then the cop's family. They basically deal with changelings because his little boy gets
Swap.
swapped out for a little
Changeling.
little devil changeling guy who impersonates the child and tries to. I think you told me what did changelings do.
The concept of the changeling is that they would get swapped. So instead of having your kid, it would actually be this changeling. And the idea was it would feed off of the parents. Like,
Oh, it fed
Until-
off the mother.
yeah, it's the idea is it would feed off the mother, and usually the dad disappears, which is why I believe that it didn't kill the mother, but it killed the father, because usually the father doesn't mean much of anything, but they feed off the mother figure.
Well, the father wasn't very nurturing. It sounded
No,
like
he
he was
brought out a
dealing
belt
with
like without, and then like the first 10 minutes, like, I'm pissed at this kid. Let me get my belt.
he was dealing with PTSD from the murder case we saw.
How come he didn't die down there? The ghost in the basement killed everybody. So why did the ghost in the school not kill the father, who was a police officer?
Though that was the psycho broke into the case with the cop dad who was there before was about a psycho killer broke in there and killed a
No,
bunch
they
of
But
people.
it wasn't
never
a psycho killer.
No,
They
because
never
it ends
caught
up
the killer.
the girl.
It was the ghost girl.
Turns out it was a ghost. But
It was
they
ghost.
they assumed it was a psycho killer when they
Yeah,
the,
but
the
he
ghost
heard the
hunters were
music
there.
and then
And he
went
started
towards
singing.
the ghost girl.
Yeah.
And then he lived somehow.
That
But
one,
she killed everybody else.
out of all 3 of like, there's like these main stories, which I still feel like they should have told the entire story and then broke into William Shatner and then told the story, because they kept breaking away and going to all these different, it was too scattered for me. That one was the weakest.
Yes, it didn't have any fun
it had
mythological
the most
stuff.
Creepy lead up and a couple jump scares. I wrote down that there were a lot of jump scares at the beginning, but then they went into creepy, which was cool. But then it was a weak.
Yeah.
It was weak.
For me,
They totally had an element of the nativity scene. Why didn't they use that?
Yeah, like have one of the dolls move or something, because what's creepier than a mannequin?
A ghost?
Well, mannequins that move. Come on, you've never been in like a store.
Well, I saw the movie The Mannequin.
Yeah.
The guy had sex with her.
There you go. Wasn't there a show when we were children about a mannequin who would come to life?
Yes.
That was
Had
The
to have a hat.
Mannequin. That's what I'm talking
No,
about.
it was a children's show, and
Oh.
he wore like striped red and white.
There was a
shirt.
Twilight Zone about the mannequins where
Well, we're getting off the rails here. We need to get back on topic.
for me with this movie, I kept waiting for all of the stories to come together and to tie together into something like
Like a Gary Marshall film.
that made sense, and they didn't. And I don't understand.
yeah, you
It
were
didn't
waiting
make sense.
for them to come together, but actually they started half-assed together and then
they
spread out.
split apart, and then they were like completely separate. They had nothing to do with each other.
They exist in each other's universe. That's all. They give each other a wink and a nod that this is all happening
Well, they were
simultaneously at the same Christmas.
Yeah, they were all from like the same area too, the same town, and they all had these separate horror stories going on at the same time, but they weren't related.
Which I think they missed an opportunity. Because, again,
Exactly.
I think this movie would have been much better if it was edited differently. Where Shatner was great filler, and actually some of his best bits were during the credits. Like,
Yeah.
And he keeps talking to this producer who happens to be Susan, who's off camera. And I was like, that's really funny. Why isn't this like story Shatner? And he kind of segues everything together because they are sort of tied, but not directly like integral. So,
Well, he tied, we won't give away anything about
Yeah, we won't give away any big finale stuff.
Yeah, but he tied the Santa versus Krampus part together. So it was like these three were half-ass tied, and then these two he tied together the... Okay, so I'm just going to say it was like the three stories that we were talking about are like realistic or whatever, but the Santa part gets kind of like fantasy.
Yes, I almost felt it was like two separate movies.
Yes.
Because the Santa zombie stuff was like fun action, like Quentin Tarantino style, blood everywhere as he's killing these little 3-foot tall zombies.
And
I really enjoyed it.
Jumping on his back with
And
the
then-
pointy teeth.
Yeah, and then we cut to a scene with like the cop's family, and they've got this creepy little kid, and they're slowly revealing that this is all wrong, and there's some fun eerie shots in there, and just tonally, it was a big gear shift. I even speculate that this was two separate movies. They made the movie with the three storylines: the ghost hunters, the family, the cop family, and the dysfunctional family.
And it came out
And
to
they
be
say, we need
65 minutes.
They say
not
we need
90.
more, so they got William Shatner, and they got him to tie into it because none of them ever reference him, but he references them, and then he is, we learn, is tied to the Santa Claus storyline.
Yes.
So I think those two were kind of added later, and that's why they almost feel like a different movie.
Weren't the kids from the original Murder in the School his grandkids?
Yeah,
Or
but
one of
it's
them
only
was?
referenced when he holds up a card with
Yeah.
them on it. So
Wait,
it's not like
the
they talk
school
I
about
didn't
was
even catch that.
referenced? I didn't
Yeah.
reference that. I knew he was related to the family.
Yes.
I didn't pick up that he was related to any of the two kids that originally died at the school.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
I
had
missed that.
like a postcard from...
Right.
I thought that was from the dysfunctional family.
That's from the dysfunctional family.
Oh.
See, I didn't even catch that. That's how subtle it... Yeah, Mark's right. This was just added in.
Well, yeah, they made a movie. It was 60 minutes long, and it was okay. It had some okay scares in it, so they added some filler.
We got some extra
I
budget. We
think
can
they-
probably hire Shatner.
Yeah, they got Shatner. They spent... One thing I really loved about this movie was a lot of practical special effects. We've seen some Krampus movies that are like, the Krampus is solid CG and it looks awful.
Yeah.
But this one was proper makeup, head to toe. Guy was covered in it. All the changelings, we get to see what they look like at one point. and
was
their
all
fun, creepy
practical.
masks. The only CG in the film was really the
guy
setup
lighting on
shops
fire.
for Santa's workshop.
Yeah.
And yeah, some CG fire and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was practical effects. I'm a big fan of that, and that goes a long way for me when I'm reviewing something.
Yeah, that was very good. Well, should we get to what we all thought about it?
Sure.
All right.
Molly, why don't you start?
Yeah, come on, tech girl. What'd you give? We're doing. Hold on, one sec. We're gonna do from now on probably a 5-star rating out of 5 stars. Universe stars fit. So, all right, universe.
Are we doing 0 to 5 or 1 to 5?
How many drinks do you need to get through the movie? That's really what it comes down to.
How many rails?
So that would be
How many rail drinks do you
that
need
would be
to
the
get
negative
through the movie?
stars, right? Movie needs 5 drinks. It's a 0-star
5
movie.
drinks.
Yeah.
If you're passed out, blackout, drunk by like the second act, this movie's in trouble.
Best movie you ever saw.
Yep.
Twilight.
All right. We will do out of 5 stars. You can cut stars in half because that's easy to do.
I don't know. Maybe like a 2.5 for me. It had some good parts in it, but it was too disconnected for me and chopped up and didn't come together where I wanted it to. I don't know.
All right.
I have very mixed feelings about it.
Mark?
We're going to go around the room here?
Yeah, let's go right around
I
the
happen
room
to be
here.
sitting next to Molly. I enjoyed it enough. It was a decent horror film. The acting was pretty good. We've seen some terrible acting in some of these movies. The special effects were solid. Like I said, some of the pacing and the tone kind of jumped around a little bit. But if you're a big fan of horror movies, you're not a horror snob, but you just like cheap, fun, dirty horror movies.
Yep.
And you want to find something you can watch around Christmas, this is a great example of it. So I would give it 3 out of 5, and I would say if you love horror movies and you want something to watch this December, this is the perfect movie for you.
All right. Susan, let's hear it.
I give it a solid 3 out of 5. I mean, I've seen a lot of bad horror movies. I was impressed that they used practical effects, but then again, that's what I look for.
Okay.
But I wasn't bored. Yeah, the choppiness, I agree with that. Like, it could have been edited better.
Okay.
But that aside, that was and they wrapped up some of the stories pretty quickly. The stories weren't that uninteresting, and we enjoyed it, and it wasn't poorly filmed. Like, there were some interesting shots. There were some, good plot points where I was like, oh, that's really creepy. Well done on them. And I laughed some. So, I mean, that all in all, if you're just looking for like a basic Christmas movie that you don't want to do another The Santa Claus or something like that, this is a good one to watch.
All right.
I'd recommend it.
Okay. I actually gave it the highest rating. I gave it a 3.5.
I don't believe in half stars.
You don't believe in half stars?
I'm going to keep it simple.
Okay, then let's go out of 10. I gave it a 7. You gave it a 6. Whatever.
I can live.
Give
I
it
can
a
live with
4.
that.
Give it a 4, Tom.
I gave it a 3.5. I thought with the 5 storylines that we were talking about, 4 wrapped up really spectacular. And we had 1 mediocre or whatever. And just this time of year, I mean, if you're a horror movie fan, what's better than Santa fighting zombie elves? They did it really well. It was pretty cool when, you're an adult, and I actually found myself cheering Santa. Like, get him! Get him, you
Which
fucker!
we haven't mentioned yet, that Santa was the voice of the Beast.
Oh, you blew it. I was going to say, did you
X-Men.
recognize who Santa was?
Yeah.
Really?
The voice of Beast from the 90s cartoon
Oh,
X-Men. Because
I
I
did
heard
not.
that voice instantly, and I'm like, who is that?
Wow.
We had to look it up.
Cool. All right. And now you got the Beast from X-Men
Sorry
playing
to spoil
Santa.
it for you. I
That's
didn't realize
awesome.
there was going to be a big reveal there.
Well, I forgot.
3.5 for me. It was just the time of year. I was cheering on Santa. It was a pretty good horror movie.
Shatner.
Shatner was in there. And and
Getting drunk.
Shatner just getting wasted on the radio.
Yep.
So
It's a solid
Rotten
movie.
Tomatoes gave it a 78%.
Yeah, it's a solid movie. And I enjoyed it as a seasonal horror film.
Seasonal horror film.
I don't think I would brag to my friends they have to see it. But if I have friends over and we're looking for something to watch, and
Hey,
it's December, let's watch this.
It's better than a lot of movies I've seen in theaters.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of crappy horror movies that come out that are just so predictable. At least this one kept me, like, some of them I was like, oh, where are you going with this? Particularly the one with the changeling. There were a few scenes where I'm like, oh, oh, no. And they kept me going.
It didn't make a lot of sense that the cop was teaching his kid how to steal Christmas trees off some strange land.
Well, I think it's because everyone needed to be on the naughty list somehow.
Yeah.
And that was their event, was trespassing to get a Christmas tree for the audience.
There was a few uncomfortable scenes in that one that I'm more so than any of the others.
Well, what kind of asswipe gets a Christmas tree on Christmas Eve and steals it and decorates it that night, and it's
the kind that brings out his belt.
Don't you put it up
misbehaves.
before Christmas Eve? Well, that kid had it coming. He was a changeling.
Minor spoiler alert. There is a character who was protecting the land because he knew the changelings were on it.
Yep.
And the only thing he put up to keep people out was a 3-foot-high chicken wire fence and a no trespassing sign.
Yeah, if I had hundreds of changelings on my
I would have Jurassic Park style fences lining my property.
He
would be the
seemed
Two
kind of a
Towers
douche
movie.
anyway, because he really didn't. He for someone who called up. Spoiler, he calls up this lady. He's like, by the way, your son's not there. It's this changeling. He really doesn't offer any great advice but other than, bring it back.
That's a tough phone call to make. I know you stole a tree from me, but here are these mythical creatures. Real.
That's cool.
If he knows that changeling is that dangerous, why does he phone her? First of all, where does he get her phone number?
License plate, he said.
Why don't you just show up at the house then? At that point, like, hey, you got my changeling. And I know it can be kind of violent. Why don't you, I'll help you bring it back.
And it might go down on you while you're sleeping.
Apparently.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
That was the one scene I'm like, oh, I am so not comfortable with this.
Yeah, that was kind of oogie, but it's a horror movie.
Yeah, but it's a little kid.
But we knew at that point it wasn't him. We, the audience, were highly suspicious.
But again, we go back to practical effects. Like, that was an actual hand.
Yeah, that was a little boy.
Creeping up over her person. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Over her tits.
Maybe if it was CGI, I'd feel more comfortable.
Nope. All right, so pretty much, what do we got? A 2.5, 3 overall, 3.
So A Christmas Horror Story. We all seem to generally like it.
Yes.
No real complaints. No one hated it.
Molly didn't.
Okay, correction. Molly hated it.
Molly hated the fuck out of it. All right. Well, that is our review. What are we doing next week? Listeners want to get in on this.
I think we should watch Turbo Kid. It's another movie. It's been on Netflix for a while. I've intended to watch it. I've heard good things about it. This is a great opportunity. Let's watch it.
Get you out of the Christmas.
Wait, it'll be post-Christmas by then, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you're going to try and record one on Christmas weekend, because we're going to be busy.
Yeah.
So we should maybe try to put one in the can.
On Christmas too.
Yeah.
All right. So, Universe, if you do have any movies that you would like us to review, send them in to the unipodcast@gmail.com, and we'll either say, yeah, that's a good idea, or we'll say, fuck you.
Over and out.